Is it possible that Georgia's Kirby Smart is winning the transfer portal battle? It's possible he is. I know there's been a lot of discussion about the portal and like all the movements, but there's only one program in the SEC that's had fewer guys transfer out, and that's Texas. So Georgia with 12, Texas with 11 guys who have left because of out of the portal. I've not looked at all of Texas's players. I have to say for Georgia, most of those guys are not. Were not going to play. So the bulk of Georgia's team that we thought was going to come back is coming back. There was some indication that Trevor Etienne would come back, but that's not a transfer portal thing. That was him declaring for the NFL. So, like, losing Carson Beck, you knew that was going to happen anyway. Losing, I don't know, guys that just weren't playing. Michael Jackson, that's not surprising. Those guys are not. Jake Polk, Michael Jackson, those guys aren't going to play out of Georgia. I'll say it like that. Hey, make sure you're visiting Red Zone down there on Clayton Street when you're coming in for these basketball games. They're on Clayton, which is in between Atlanta Highway and the next street up. I can't remember what it is, but I never can remember. So just you go to the Arches and you walk up one block, take a left, and you'll see Red Zone right there on your left. Scott and Mindy are always there. Glad to see you. But I think you could make the argument they are winning the transfer portal because when I say they, I mean Kirby. They've done a pretty good job, generally speaking. It's not with the portal. You're always looking back on who you lost. That's the part when you never want to lose guys if you can help it, but that's going to happen in today's world of college football. The biggest thing for Georgia is the guys that they brought in. I would say that's the biggest improvement. But when it's all said and done, did they have an Ohio State? Have they had an Ohio State type of offseason with the portal? No, you can't say that. I don't think, at least. I wouldn't say that at all. But I'm going to put up on the screen here Michael Jackson didn't play. Justin Rhett didn't play much. Bowles couldn't break in there. And Pimba, Pope. Anthony Evans, that's a tough one, okay? There's three guys, Julian Humphrey, Evans, and I would say Damon Wilson. Those three guys. And, did they bring in three to replace those? Not necessarily at the positions that they play, but they brought in, I would say, Zachariah Branch, if he does not splash, then they've just, at receiver, if the guys that Georgia got come in don't splash pretty quick, then maybe they didn't do a great job in the portal. But I think you can make the argument as it stands right now. This microphone sometimes. Y'all hear that? That's from the microphone moving. But as it stands right now, I think you gotta feel okay if you're Kirby and them. Have they won it? Have they done better than everybody else? That they haven't lost as many as most places, particularly places that like Ohio State is the betting favorite to win the national championship. I understand that. I'm not saying that that's what's going to wind up happening. It could be Texas. It could be Georgia going into the season. I kind of doubt it'd be Georgia. But I think, Ohio State's losing a lot of people. They lost now both coordinators. They've lost, there's a lot of transition at Ohio State. And you can, that's going to be challenging for them to get through. But in the grand scheme of things, I think, for Georgia specifically, they've held on to the bulk of the guys that they wanted to keep. And that's important, because as they come into this season, I'm assuming Gunnar Stockton will start at quarterback. I'm assuming that, but, we'll see what happens with Puglisi and so forth. But my assumption is that it will be Gunnar Stockton, okay? So you have really 2 full games to get right before you go to Neyland. And so do you have in place everything that you need, including the guys that are coming in, the 5-star player at wide receiver that's coming in for Georgia? You got a 5-star player at defensive line that's coming in for Georgia with Griffith coming in. You're going to have younger guys at least be good. They might not have to be dominant players, but they need to be good. And, we'll just see. We'll just see. I mean, I don't – Alabama's not going to be favored in Athens, okay? So that's not going to happen. But, the schedule is challenging enough to where, it's problematic. But, you lose Jamal Jarrett on defensive line. It's not, not ideal, but you are bringing in the class that they are bringing in. This is the new world that we live in. And the development of college football rosters is not just now the recruiting and signing, but the development and retention, or the retention and the development. They go now hand in hand. Like, if you're developing somebody and they leave, that's not great. Now, I'm going to put this on the screen. I've seen of the guys that Georgia signed on the defensive line, I've seen Elijah Griffin live, and I've seen Isaiah Gibson live. And I can assure you that Isaiah Gibson looks the part for sure. No question. I mean, he looks like Williams, who they're losing to the NFL draft. That's what he looks like. That's what he looked like when he was younger. I mean, he was big, long, edge guy. He looks the part. Griffin, it was more challenging for me because I saw him play against Marist. Okay, and it's not because I went to Tucker. It's because the way Marist plays, that's not a traditional offense. So that was the biggest thing for me. Those two guys, they're going to have to be good players for Georgia, not, specialty players or anything like that. And then Taylor, the wide receiver from the Midwest, like, Georgia's going to need him to come in and be good, like, quick. And there's a lot of discussion that he will be good. So, when you talk about, are you winning the portal or not? I mean, if you've only lost 12 guys so far, and again, I'll put it back up on the screen because I do think it's important to talk about which 12 guys did you lose. Because just because you lost 12 guys, I mean, it could be the wrong 12 guys. In this case, numerically, it's 12, okay, right? But it's not like, that's hardly the end of the world. Carson Beck is not on my list because that was after this happened. So, I think they're okay. You retain Nitro Tuggle, but like, Jake Pope was never going to play at Georgia, y'all. It just wasn't going to happen. I think it's tough to lose Anthony Evans. I think it's tough to lose Damon Wilson. Those two guys very specifically. I think Troy Bowles could be a pretty good linebacker for somebody. But if you're not playing on this team was so banged up in 24, somewhat like 23, but 23 had the wrong guys banged up. I mean, Brock Bowers, Lab McConkey, those were two of the wrong guys to have banged up. This case, it was a lot of different guys. I mean, the center, you had Tate Ratledge banged up. You had Smile Munden banged up. I mean, like, it seemed like it was just spread out all over the place who was hurt at any. I mean, Carson Beck got hurt at the end of the season. You had ETN get hurt during the season. I mean, like, it was the offensive line was never the same line. You had the starting quarterback get hurt right before the playoff. You had the starting running back was not available for like 6 games or whatever it was. I mean, it was just seemingly nonstop. The defensive line, when they played at Kentucky, was just not deep. And so the big thing now, I think, moving forward, if you're so-called winning the transfer portal, which I'm suggesting they're not losing it. They're not losing it. I think they're doing okay. But, I don't know. I'll add this about all of this discussion. I don't know if there's like a big deal player out there to go get. I mean, Isaiah Bond last season. Oh my God, the defensive back from Alabama that went to Ohio State, whose name suddenly escapes me. He would have been got Justice Hayes leaving Alabama. You have, like this season, like there's not a huge, like ETN was a big deal coming into Georgia. Quinshon Junkins going to Alabama, going to Ohio State from Mississippi. That was a big deal. I mean, Ole Miss got a few guys that were a big deal. I don't know if the portal is as frothy as it was a season ago. So there's that too. But this is a new time. You're going to have to keep the guys that you really develop and take it from there. I mean, Julian Humphrey, starting defensive back, but it wasn't working after a while. That was the problem there. Michael Jackson literally never did anything. Rhett, Bowles, Mpemba, Pope, Rashada, those guys either never played or didn't do much at all. And so I understand them leaving. But the reality is you've retained almost, unless something's changed, you've retained everybody in 24 that signed. Yeah, you've retained everybody in 24. You've got the bulk of 26 as well. Now, not everybody, but the bulk of 26. You're losing Jared Wilson and Mpemba. And this is the time Bowles. This is about the time those guys kind of figure out, So that's not shocking that they'd move on. But you're also going to need, in the secondary at Georgia is going to have to, reset and get moving. And going up to Tennessee, they're going to know real quick. That's for sure. Anyway, do you think they're winning the portal? You tell me down below. Thanks for watching.